Welcome to the Rock Music Alliance interview sessions. I'm your host, Cole Coleman, along with Claudio Pesavento, keyboardist from Mahogany Rush and the Chris Squire Band. One of my favorites. Chris Squire Band was an awesome band. Yeah, on our show today, he's a vocalist, guitarist, and actor who has opened the shows for major artists, including Stone Temple Pilots, Alice Cooper, and Dream Theater. Also one of my favorites, yeah. And he has performed privately for Robert De Niro and Michael J. Fox, amongst others. Currently, you can see him performing in Las Vegas, portraying Freddie Mercury in the band Bohemian Queen. And he's the CEO of the DavidZ Foundation. Welcome to our show, Paulie Z.
Thank you very much. It's funny that when you talked about the bands that have opened for, you missed the two big ones that everyone always says. And it's nice that you said some of the other ones because they forget about Alice Cooper and Stone Temple Pilots. But actually, Kiss and Poison, we toured with for a whole summer. We did 40 dates opening for Kiss and Poison. So that's always like the first, every interview I've done, they played with Kiss and Poison. I'm like, Kiss and Poison. Yeah, there's other bands too. It's not just Kiss and Poison. And in this case, we didn't say that. So.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about Kiss a little bit in just a few minutes too.
Okay, perfect.
And yeah. So I wanted to find out, since you're opening like in a week or two in Las Vegas. So Paulie, how did the Bohemian Queen gig come about for you?
It started when the movie came out. There was a demand, and prior to that, my wife and I were doing a Los Angeles version of Rubik's Cube, which anyone on the East Coast may know. That's a big 80s band that my brother David was a part of. And I don't know if are you hearing that little pop up? I'm getting a pop up. I don't know if it's
it's not a problem. It's amusing,
okay.
But it's okay.
Yeah, I don't know if it's me or you, but sorry about that. So in this band Rubik's Cube, we would do a tribute to the 80s, and every song would come out as a different character. So my wife would come out as Cyndi Lauper, and while I'm changing, I come out as Axl Rose and blah, blah, blah. And I did one one Queen song, right? The movie came out, I was like, okay, we got to do a Queen song. So I got the yellow jacket, got a mustache, whatever. And some promoter saw it and it was like, he goes, "You're really good at that." And I got to tell you, I like Queen. I've always liked Queen, but I wasn't an uber Queen fan. I had the greatest hits. For me, if I'm a fan, I have every record. Like I had every Iron Maiden record, every Kiss record. But I had their hits. And this guy goes, "Can you do a whole show like that? I'm looking for a Queen band. It's hot right now. If you can put a whole show together, you can make a lot of money." I was like, yeah, I guess so. And then I had to learn. I put a band together. I learned it. I did this one show, and it was great. And the guy's like, "You got to keep doing this." And it came very natural. To be honest with you, like I said, I didn't grow up being I was an uber Kiss fan, so that's something I could easily do. But I never saw myself being Freddie. I just, we were two different kind of people, and then it just comes so naturally to me.
Yeah,
and that's how it started,
That's probably one of the best ways I've ever heard for it to start. You had a booker ready to go. What's the difficult thing about portraying Freddie Mercury?
Well, it's a couple things. I mean, there's for me personally, stylistically, he comes from a musical theater background. His range is so varied and so incredible, as far as like he can do the gritty rock stuff, but he can also do the classical and the musical theater runs, that clean and that vaudeville. So, if you're doing Zeppelin, if you're doing hard rock, that's kind of, the range is a little bit more specific. Someone like Freddie, you really have to be so diverse. And I did not grow up, again, with that musical theater background. So I think for me, the challenge was actually cleaning my voice up a little bit, not pushing so hard, learning to actually back off and be a little bit more subtle and a little bit more pretty on some of the stuff. Also the moves, right? He's got very specific movements, and I'm not impersonating him. So that's the other thing, is finding the balance of like, it's still me, right? You're watching Paulie Z dressed as Freddie. I'm not pretending to be him, but how do I capture the essence of his, the way he stands and the hand and the little shuffle when he walks? There's all those little things that go into it. Whereas like when I do Journey, for example, I just sing. I don't have to worry so much about the whole persona. Freddie's like a full package, basically. So that's what makes it challenging.
Well, I've seen videos of you guys performing, and just like you said, you've really got the Freddie moves down. I mean, it does look like you're portraying him. I mean, you've captured the essence of Freddie for sure.
That's all I want to do. I don't want to impersonate or try to be. I just want to capture the essence. Even on stage, we tell the audience every show, and I think this is the best thing we did, because in the beginning we weren't sure how to get the message across. I actually tell people, look, he and I are nothing alike, and I make a joke that like, he was 5'10", I'm 6'2". I joke that he was skinny, like he had a 30-inch waist. He was really like a toothpick, and I'm like a big, broad-shouldered football player. So I joke about that because when I wear some of the outfits, obviously I don't look like him. I have a different body. I'm a different person. So I make that very clear because I don't want them to think that I'm someone else. I want them actually to be watching Paulie Z.
Okay, yeah.
But then feel that they're again, that's why I love the word essence. I want them to feel what they would feel like if they were watching Freddie, but I don't want there to be any confusion that he's trying to be Freddie. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Definitely, as a performer, a stage performer, I definitely understand that. And however it works, it works. Like on camera, it's a lot of fun to watch it. And
Thank you.
yeah, I also saw the video of you guys performing the Queen song "Hammer to Fall," with Brian May as the guest. I wanted to ask you, how did you get a hold of Brian May and have him come on as a guest?
Well, I'm going to tell you my secret because I'm going to burst your bubble right now. Sorry, Cole, but we didn't. He put that out on social media and asked people to join him, and it was so it was out there. So it was a video that already existed, and then we just played along and cut him in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but you see, it did the trick.
It did. I mean, yeah.
It fooled you.
Totally. I would totally never know, and it's great. That's a great video to have on your side. I mean, it looks like Brian May is enjoying himself.
Yeah,
That's good.
and it comes down to the edit. I've seen other people do it, and it didn't look as good. I mean, I think the reason it felt so natural when you saw it is I spent a lot of time editing it so that it looked like we were all doing it at the same time. That's the magic of the editing process, and the colors and just making sure they all match. A lot of people just kind of slapped it together and they film themselves with an iPhone. You can kind of tell. So I'm glad you didn't notice. It makes me feel good.
I enjoyed it. It looked real to me, and good job. Good job.
Thank you.
For the listeners, you can see that video we're talking about at bohemianqueenband.com under the button media. Go there and check it out. Who are the other musicians in the band, and what bands do they come from?
Well, my partner who started the band with me, and also my partner in our entertainment company that is launching all these new bands that I have that hopefully we can talk about a little bit as well. His name is Glenn Jost, and he played in a band called Boss Sticks, which was a very, very successful Boston Sticks tribute band with a singer from Boston, not the original guy, but David Victor, who had sung with them for a while. And the guitar player is kind of a legend, actually, in the tribute world, Steve Zukowski. He was the original guitar player for Led Zeppelin. So he was in, like, when tribute bands first started years and years ago, he was on the scene. So he's like the OG of tribute guys. Our keyboard player, Victor Bender, he's from Colombia, South America, and he played with actually some big artists over there. I don't remember the names, but over there they were huge. Here they might not be as well known. Maybe Claudio would know.
I know Victor.
Yeah, but the guy, he played with a couple big artists over there. So this pop guy that's huge. And he also played with Glenn in Boss Sticks.
Juanes.
Huh? Yeah, Juanes. Huge. So over there,
Yeah.
big deal. And then our bass player, actually, Aaron Sampson, he was the bass player in Odin. So that, and for those that don't know, I mean, Odin was a big deal in California in the Sunset Strip back in the 80s. They were in that movie, Decline of Western Civilization. So yeah, so it's a pretty all-star. And then little old me. I'm the kid in the band. They're all a little bit older than me too, so I'm like the spoiled little brat.
Well, where is your next gig with Bohemian Queen?
Well, you said it. So we have a residency that we've been doing at South Point in Las Vegas, and we are playing there next weekend, April 4, 5, and 6. And then we got a bunch of stuff after that, but that's our next run.
So guys, if you're doing a trip to Las Vegas sometime in the summer, be sure to check the bohemianqueenband.com website. See if they're performing. Go see Paulie.
Yeah, we'll be there again in Vegas. I think it's October, I believe, another run. We do like 3 nights there. And
What is the venue?
it's South Point
Okay.
Casino. Yeah, it's a great casino too. I've never been there until before we started playing, and but it's a really cool place. They have, because it's very self-contained. They've got a bowling alley, a movie theater, so you go there and you really don't have to leave, to go to the Strip.
Yeah.
Well, Paulie, you mentioned you have a new company that's coming out about bands. Tell us about that.
So Zen Entertainment, Glenn, my partner, is a Glenn, and then me, everything with me is the letter Z, because that's just, my thing. So we
So
put the
wrong.
Z and the Glen, yes. So Zen Entertainment is going to be the umbrella for all these new tribute bands because I kind of got a little crazy with the tributes. I got the bug, I drank the Kool-Aid, and now I have 9 tribute bands and 16
Wow.
projects altogether that are active. Yeah.
Shit.
And yeah, no joke. And because and I'll tell you how it started. So Bohemian Queen was very successful right out of the gate, and we can talk about why that was later if you want, and the more in the business stuff. But what happens is, you get a show on a Friday, let's say, or a Saturday, and then you need a router, right? So, and it's hard to find sometimes another show that makes sense, and you don't want to fly for one show because that kills, the expenses kill you, right? So it was hard to do that. And I'm like, man, if I only had another project I can kind of pitch and we can do 2 nights in a row. Or sometimes we do a festival and then the next year we'll say, hey, let's do it again. They go, no, we don't like this. We don't like to have the same tribute 2 years in a row. We want to do a different band next year. So my head was just like, well, what if I just had more bands to pitch? So we started a Zeppelin band, a Deep Purple band with those same guys. And then with a set of different musicians, I have Journey, Aerosmith, Foreigner, Bruce Springsteen. That's my newest one. And then a different set of guys. I have a Chris Cornell and an Alice in Chains tribute.
Wow.
And we double booked, triple booked. We've opened for ourselves. I mean, it's just a great business plan if you can pull it off. And buyers love it because it's one set of flights, one set of hotels, one set of egos to deal with. You can offer them a discount, right? Put 2 bands and we'll give you a break. It's been great. So all those bands.
It's very clever, Paulie. And as soon as you explained it, I got the light bulb went on here. I was like, multiple bands, multiple booking. Brilliant, man. Brilliant. Good
But
luck with that.
hard to pull off. That's the problem. Because you would say, why doesn't everyone do it? It's a lot. It's very difficult to pull off musically. Obviously, everyone has to be able to pull it off. It's a lot of work too. I mean,
Yeah.
But
every band you launch, it's just like a whole thing.
yeah, but a lot of musicians, and there's a whole pool of musicians here in Hollywood and Los Angeles. So, that, and you have obviously some good booking experience. So sounds like you got it going. You got it going on.
And in LA, just to piggyback that real quick, if I was not living in LA, I don't know that I would be able to do it. Like that's a good point. Like anywhere else, and even New York, where I'm from, LA I've never been anywhere else that has such a pool of so many musicians, so many professional musicians. This is what they do. And a guy can't make it. I have like 10 subs I can call. It's unbelievable. And I think that, and also the booking, you build these relationships. That's the other thing. If you build a relationship with someone and then you don't see them again for another couple of years, you lose that, right? But if you're able to work with somebody consistently, it's all about the relationship. So the more I can offer you, the more product I have, the more we can keep working and the closer we get.
Right. And you know where to find them. They're up at the Whisky, they're up at the Rainbow.
Yeah.
So Claudio, we gotta think of some kind of tribute band we can get into and then let Paulie book us, man.
Mahogany Rush. There you go.
There you go, man.
Yeah.
There you go.
What's a different type of wood than mahogany? Just like, you get
Well, the thing in Mahogany Rush is like you have 2-hour long solos, guitar solos.
Yeah, that's cool. Hey, Paulie, did you mention the
Yeah.
website? Like, where can people go to find out about this new business?
It's not up yet.
Okay.
So, yeah, we're hoping to launch in April. We've been working on it for almost a year. It's the website itself. Visually, I have to say, for me, it's a bit of a masterpiece. I love it as an artist. I went to art school, so I'm more visual. I spent so many months with this company, just tweaking everything. It's beautiful. But we're starting to get all the content and all the SEO and stuff. So hopefully next month. But in the meantime, I just tell people just follow my pages. I'm pretty active on social media. I wasn't until a couple of years ago. I finally brought someone on to help me, and it's best thing I've ever done. That's another thing that you gotta get someone to do social media and just invest in it because it really makes a big difference. So you can see all this stuff. I'm posting constantly, me doing all of this.
Good tip there. Good point. So just keep a hold of Paulie's pages, and when Zen Media launches, you will know about it.
Yeah, Zen Entertainment, and
Zen
it's like
Entertainment.
quality performance with peace of mind. The reason we said Zen because it's also working with us. We try to be. You want peace of mind. You don't want attitudes. You don't want. You know what I mean? You want people that are professional, easy to work with, no divas, no drama. And with us, I feel like with Glenn and I, I mean, Claudio knows we work together, right? When I was with Sweet and stuff, I mean,
Yeah.
as the lead singer of a band like that, like I could easily be a diva and be a pain in the ass if I want to, but I try very hard not to do that because that's the other thing. People want to work with people they like, right? So if
Yeah.
you're easy to work with and you're
Easy to work with.
professional,
Yeah.
yes, and professional and reliable, you're gonna just get more opportunities, you know? So that's one of our, you know,
And they listen too.
what?
They be able to listen.
Yeah, that's another thing too, right? Be able to listen to critique. You have to be open-minded. There's so much that goes into how this game is played. If you want to be successful, people think, I think they overestimate how much talent really plays a part. I know that sucks to say, but it's one piece of the puzzle, and they don't really
Yeah.
focus the other pieces, right? They focus all on the talent, the skill, but it's like that doesn't make you successful necessarily. You know what I mean? It may make you an amazing musician, but you want to buy a house and pay mortgage, you want to take your family on vacation, like you need more than just talent. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
going too far off on a tangent, but you know,
Absolutely.
it's
Well, Paulie, when you're booking, don't forget to
yeah.
book here in Los Angeles as well. We'd like to see some of the bands like, down here where I live in the South Bay, Hermosa, right, Redondo. There's a great club down here, the Lighthouse Cafe. Be sure to
Okay.
book in there. And there's also St. Rock, and also in Hermosa.
Yeah, I have never played St. Rock. I used to play a place, the Blue Beat, a small little dive bar in Orange County. I don't know if that's a little
No,
further
I don't
than-
know too far. Yeah.
Okay, that's probably a little too far.
Yeah.
My Springsteen band is playing. I don't know if you're willing to come up, but anyone in near Simi Valley, we're playing at the Simi Valley Cultural Arts Center Wednesday, April 16th. That's the next local-ish gig. I mean, everything else is flyouts. But if you want to see me do some Bruce,
Oh, you play at the Whisky a lot too, right?
That's
yeah, I
cool.
play the Whiskey all the time. It's like my home away from home. I just call
Yeah.
it, they're like family now. So
Well, speaking of the Whiskey, before Bohemian Queen, I used to see you at the Whiskey, hosting the Ultimate Jam in
Yeah.
the Whiskey in Hollywood. How did that gig come around for you?
So it's funny how and when, because when I was in, we talked about before, like I opened for those bands, we talked about Kiss and Poison. That was with my original band, ZO2, with my brother, which we can segue into the foundation later. That's in his memory. But, I was always in a band, in regional bands, right? And I was always doing original music. And then when I moved to LA, it's because everything kind of fell apart and I tried to start fresh. And at that point, to be honest with you, I was doing my solo stuff, but I wasn't trying to push it. I was kind of like, I felt like I had the TV show, I had a little bit of fame, and I had some fun. I think I want to focus on education and getting married and just go, I'm going to go in this route. I had my fun. And then I went to Ultimate Jam Night started and in LA, 2015. And I was just a guest. I was one of the musicians they asked to come up and sing, And here's how it was funny. So I just come in and I'm like, well, I'm in LA. I'm still going to go out and sing, but it would be more for fun. And I sang, I think, an AC/DC song, and I killed it. And everyone was like, "Oh my God, dude, your voice," and blah blah blah. But then I made a joke, and this is how I got the gig. I made a joke about the bagpipes, and I was like, "Oh wow, like finally I get to, I could check that off my bucket list. Sing a song with bagpipes." I said maybe next week I'll do something with a song with a kazoo, and then everyone started laughing. And Chuck Wright, who was the one who started it, and his partner Adam Mandel, he looked at me, and goes, "That's funny." He looked just like that. He was like, he made a note. He goes, "That's really clever." And that was it. I said, okay. Then I get a call that they wanted to replace their host, who was an actual comedian, but he really wasn't a musician. They wanted to replace him. They wanted to have some issues or whatever. And he asked me, he said, I remember that joke. And he goes, you can sing, you're a great performer, but you're also funny and good with the crowd. Would you be interested? And I was like, well, yeah, I got nothing else going on. I'm in LA. I'm kind of broke. I'm like, sure, why not? And that's it. And it just took off. It just took off. It was, for me, it was a natural fit. And then eventually I got into producing it. And then at a certain point, to the point where I kind of took over, not owning it, but as far as creatively, they just let me do whatever I want. So then I started doing crazy stuff like Rocky Horror Picture Show and Symphony Nights and Spinal Tap Nights. And
Yeah, Symphony was amazing.
Symphony was crazy. But
I was just going to say the Symphony Night, that was a great night. I'd love to see that
you were
again.
there?
I was there. I don't know if you did it more than once, but
we did too. Yeah, we did it twice. Yeah.
Yeah, I probably was at the second one.
I
but-
played number 2.
Yeah, you played in that one. And then, I did Nessun Dorma, and then I just did that at NAMM. I retired from Ultimate Jam Night a couple of years ago. After the pandemic, we came back, and because of my, I have kids now. It was a lot more difficult, and I have all these other projects.
Yeah.
So I retired, and then they pulled me back in for this one big one at NAMM a couple months ago, and I did Nessun Dorma, and I did it with an orchestra, and it was just awesome,
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
for anybody
Yeah.
listening,
was there.
there's an annual show that goes on in Anaheim. It's the largest music manufacturer convention. Is called the NAMM show, National Association of Music Merchants, and it's huge. It's at the Anaheim Convention Center, attended by multiple thousands of people. So Paulie, doing the ultimate jam at NAMM, ultimate
The
NAMM
arena,
jam
at the arena too.
in the Anaheim arena.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that was yeah, and I was there.
Were you there? Were you
Claudio
there
was
too?
there. Sure,
I was
sure.
there.
Oh, you were there. Oh, okay. So you saw that. You saw We Are the World that we did, and right. I mean, with the 80-piece choir. I mean, it was just
Well
it was
done.
one of those life-changing, those moments that I'll remember. When they put me on, down later in life, and these are those moments that you look back on, and it was a very special thing.
Yeah, that was a children's choir, right?
Yeah,
Is that-
well, it was a
yeah.
mix. It was a mix of children's and adult, and that's part of because I remade We Are the World for the last fundraiser I did for the foundation. So I brought them in, and it was amazing.
Well done. Well, guys, let's pause here for a word from our sponsor. And when we come back, we're going to ask Paulie a little about his early days and how his band Kiss Nation led to forming ZO2, and how a tragedy on tour led to the formation of the DavidZ Foundation. We'll be right back. Attention guitar players, the Thimble Slide allows you to slide and fret, freeing your slide finger. The Thimble Slide is a mini guitar slide designed to be worn on the tip of your finger, about halfway down your fingernail. When worn there, you can still bend your finger, and most importantly, it's allowing enough of your fingertip through so you can still press the guitar strings. With its patented shape, you can slide and fret while wearing the Thimble Slide. Visit thimbleslide.com. That's thimbleslide.com.
Hey everyone, I'm Katie Darrell from the Top 10 Revealed, and you're listening to Rock Music Alliance. Arr!
We're back with Paulie Z on the Rock Music Alliance. Paulie, briefly tell us, where are you and David from? Where were you born and raised and grew up? Oh, and how did you guys become musicians?
Okay, well, first of all, I will try my best to be brief. As you can tell, I'm very loquacious. So yeah, briefly is the key word of that. Like, could you briefly answer this question? We've got 20 more questions. Born and raised in Brooklyn, 3 boys. I'm the oldest. David was the middle. And my father and his brother were musicians. So that's how we got into it. We watched them play, and then we would play together. And yeah, born and raised in Brooklyn. That's the briefest way I can answer that question.
That's cool. That's cool. So how did you guys become musicians?
Well, like I said, we were playing, we saw my dad and my uncle, and it was like kind of a part of the family. And he played with us. My mom bought us our first instruments, actually, but he was the one that nurtured it, and we had that bond. And then, you just form a band. I think David actually formed the first band we were in. He formed it. And he actually pushed me, funny enough, into being the singer, because I had, short anecdote, like, I always wanted to sing, whatever, but I had recorded a song for this girl in high school that I had a crush on. I showed it to her, and she laughed at me, and she said, "You can't sing," and literally crushed my dreams. It's amazing how sensitive children can be, right? Like, because anything you say can affect their whole future. And that was it for me. I was like, the girl I like said, I can't sing, I'm done. David pushed me. He said, she's like, don't listen to her. She goes, you can sing. And it pushed me to be the singer of the band that he had with his friends in high school. And that was it right there. That put me back on track. So if it wasn't for him, there would be no Paulie Z lead vocals. And then from that, we just, built a local following. We were pretty, I would say, big fish in a small bowl in Brooklyn. We were very, very popular. And then it just led from there.
Got it. Now, when did you guys form Kiss Nation?
So David wasn't in that. So I joined Kiss Nation in 2001, right before 9/11. I joined, and just from an ad, I didn't have anything going on. And I met Joey, our drummer, in Kiss Nation. So David had nothing to do with that. That was just a fun project I did because I was a Kiss fanatic. And then that's how I met Joey. And I asked Joey, I said, hey, would you be interested in doing an original project? My brother and I, we had a band with our friend on drums, and he bowed out to focus on a career. He's like, I can't do this, guys. So we had that open spot. Joey said, yeah, and that was it. It was like the magic was there. Like people talk about that chemistry. It's true. You sit down and it was just like, yep, there it is,
Yeah, that's an amazing thing when amongst people in general, but it's an amazing thing in the music world when you just have that click of energy, the kismet.
Yeah, and money can't buy that stuff too. That's what it's like love, right? It's no different than love. When you meet someone that you just you can't put a dollar figure on it. No billions of dollars couldn't buy that chemistry. So when you find it, you need to really protect it and nurture it, right? Because it's so special. And we did. We did everything we could to make that that band happen, and it did. ZO2, we did
magic.
A lot of great things. We did a lot of great things, yeah.
So Kiss Nation, it led to ZO2, right?
Right. Oh yeah. Sorry, I skipped the steps. Kiss Nation. We were starting to write as ZO2 in the behind the scenes, but we hadn't played really or anything. And then our producer, who became our manager at the time, he was friends with Paul Stanley and the Kiss guys, and we were about to record our first record, right? Like as a band, but we weren't out yet really. We were just playing locally. We were going to do the record, but we're like, no, let's get a label. Let's just do a demo. And he said, this is the best advice I think we ever got. He said, look, you should fund it yourselves and do a real record. And he goes, we can't afford it. We were kids. We're like, we can't afford it. It was $30,000 or something. And he said, well, if you don't invest in yourself, how do you expect anyone else to? And that was it. David and I said, okay. And I don't know how we did it, credit cards and borrowed money, borrowed and steal. We produced the record, paid for it and everything. And that album got us on tour with Kiss. And that's when like ZO2 sort of blossomed. And we thought we would get a show or two, like as a friend, because he was friends, we thought maybe we'll get 1 or 2 shows on the East Coast. And it just happens that Nikki Sixx's band, Bride of Destructions, dropped out last second. And they had the whole tour available. It was only 6 weeks, so who are you going to get? So, yeah.
Nice.
That's amazing. Yeah. So just for the listeners, so ZO2 gets formed, and you guys, as you mentioned, you put out releases, and then you got some touring going. So how did you score the VH1 Rock the Nation gig, that opening for Kiss, as you mentioned?
Well, through our manager. Through
the manager, right?
Yeah, because he showed Paul the album. He said, hey, and he told us he got some of the other bands that he had produced. He got them a show here, a show there. So we knew that was possible, right? Like it's just Paul hooking him up because they were really good friends. And he showed Paul the album, and Paul said, let me hear it. He gives him the album, and Paul said, this is great. And that was the lesson I learned, because if we didn't go all in and we didn't fund it ourselves and do it for real, we wouldn't have gotten that tour. But he was blown away. And he goes, these guys are unsigned. He goes, unsigned, they paid for it themselves, they wrote the songs themselves, everything. And he goes, can they do the whole tour? He goes, are they available for 9 weeks? He goes, let me check.
So on tour with Kids, you got to hang out with them, I guess, obviously?
Every day. Oh my God, yeah. And catering, we played wiffle ball with them. We were, Gene and I would, backstage, he was showing me pictures of all his girls, and we would make jokes, and we were, oh my God, it was great. And Poison, by the way, it was Kiss and Poison. So that's how I got to become friends with them too. I have footage of us literally playing wiffle ball. Me striking out Paul Stanley on a wiffle ball game. Yeah, he threatened to kick us off the tour if I struck him.
Now in Kiss Nation, you played Paul Stanley. So did you get to? I'm sure you must have talked to him about your Kiss Nation band.
No. So here's the funny thing too. So Kiss Nation worked with Kiss, and before ZO2 got the tour, and we were hired because we were one of the better bands out there. We were hired to do a lot of stuff with Kiss. So when they had the box set at Tower Records, they hired us for promotion. So they knew us as Kiss Nation, but they didn't know who we really were. And then VH1 did a show called Mock Rock. They did a pilot for a show, and we were one of the bands. So they actually filmed us getting ready for the show, and they flew us out to the Whisky. That was the first time I ever played the Whisky. And Paul and Gene were in the audience as a surprise. And it was a great pilot. They never wound up doing a series. But we met Paul and Gene multiple times, worked with them. When ZO2 got the tour, our manager said, you have to stop Kiss Nation, and you can never tell them that was you, because it would weird them out. So I don't know if they know, but we told all our friends, don't you say anything. we called the guys in Kiss Nation. It's like, hey, good news, bad news. Bad news is we got to quit the band. Good news is we're going on tour with Kiss. And so,
Amazing.
yeah,
Now,
so they never knew that whole time that we were those guys, you know?
that's amazing. Yeah. Well, how did ZO2 become the subject of a television show called Z Rock?
So, so many great stories. So we were actually a kids band for real. Mostly, I did it more than the other guys. David and I would do parties and stuff together, but I did actual classes and I taught, which I still do. Like tomorrow I have 10 preschool classes and Wednesday, and I have lessons now. And then we brought Joey in every once in a while. He would do some concerts with us. So we would do a lot of kids parties and then we would play, right, in New York. And the grown-ups for those kids, because they were young, 1, 2, 3 years old, they're young grown-ups, right? So they like to go out. So they knew we were in a band. They're like, you guys are really like too good for just doing the Wheels on the Bus. You must have a band. And we say, yeah. We give them a flyer, come out. Sometimes the parents would come out and it was fun. This one time, a dad came to the show. He goes, oh, I got to check this out. He comes to the show. He goes, you guys are amazing. Like you do the kids thing, which is great. You do the rock thing, which is great. He goes, we got to do something. I want to do something with you. And we're like, well, what do you do? So I work for William Morris. Now, William Morris, right? First thing as a musician, you think touring, right? It's like, get us on tour. We need a tour. You know, he goes, no, I'm not in the touring department. I'm in the TV department. And our manager at the time, smart, he says, well, let's do a TV show. Just like that. And the guy goes, TV show about what? He goes, about their life. You know, and he goes, that's a great idea. But let me get back to you on that. And over the course of 3 years, developing and sending him, he says, send me some video of you doing a kids party. Send me some video of you backstage. Send me of this, send me of that. 3 years, and we never thought it would happen. I mean, you know, we were musicians, not actors. We're like, we didn't think it would happen, and it did. We interviewed, it was between Comedy Central and Independent Film Channel. We interviewed with a lot of different networks, and IFC just, you know, they were really, really excited about it. And plus we could be a little bit more edgy on that channel. So we went that route and we did 2 seasons and it was amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. After 2 seasons, they didn't renew it. But what happened that it didn't get renewed?
Well, what I was told, it was everything looked like everyone thought it was going to be renewed. It was the biggest show on the channel. What I was told was that the president of the network wanted to go in a different direction. Like at the last minute, he kind of just shifted gears, you know, for business reasons, not because he didn't like the show or anything, but because they didn't have sponsors and stuff, they were able to have nudity and cursing and they could do whatever they want. They wanted to start bringing in sponsors for money, which means they had to like tone it down. And that's what I was told. They wanted to go in a different direction and that was it. And everyone was so upset because it's not like we're like, oh, 50-50 shot that we'll get it. It was like, oh yeah, it's a no-brainer. You're going to have season 3. And then all of a sudden, nope. So it was a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it happens a lot in the entertainment industry, things like that, you know.
Yeah, like the A&R guy just changes his mind. It's like, you know what? I think rock is dead. We're going to go into hip hop. I mean, just literally like that. It's over.
Happens a lot. Well, we're coming up to the end of the show pretty soon. I mean, I know we're running out of time. But we want to turn our attention to the DavidZ Foundation. And let me kind of set it up, you know, for listeners. For our listeners, let me explain. In March of 2017, Paulie's brother DavidZ joined the band Adrenaline Mob as its bass player, and they took off on tour. So, Paulie, would you tell us, take us through what happened next?
Well, like a lot of tours, unless you're in a tour bus with millions of dollars, like when he toured with Trans-Siberian Orchestra, he played with them for 18 years. They had tour buses. It was a legit full-scale touring, right? So everything is safe. Everything is like, you don't have to worry. But when you don't have that kind of budget, right, there's always like, the car breaks down or the van or the flat tire, whatever. So that's what happened. They had a couple of things happen on the tour. And one day, it was July 17th of that year, July 14th of 2017, I mixed the numbers up. They had a flat tire. It was just, they were in Florida. They had a flat tire on the RV. So they pulled over and it was the middle of the day and just bad luck. A 18-wheeler truck the driver was falling asleep at the wheel and he veered off full speed and ran right into the RV. And from what I was told, David was probably on his way out on the phone calling. I think based on how they pieced it together, they think he was kind of stepping out. He was killed instantly. and then the tour manager, Jane Train, as it was her artist name, she was in a coma for like 3 weeks. You know, her body was like, I think 60% burned, and so, and then she didn't make it. So there were 2 fatalities. So that was that was crazy.
Yeah, I remember that day. I remember when it happened. I remember when the announcement came over the news that evening. It was quite a shock, you know.
Yeah, the hardest part too for me was that it was, I don't know how, but some people were, it was already on Facebook. Like people were saying, oh, rest in peace, DavidZ. And I'm like, you know, and I didn't even know. Like there was no confirmation from I called all the local hospitals. I called the police departments. No one would tell me anything. And my parents would call me. It's like, why are people putting, what's going? That to me was the hardest part about it, was not being able to contain the information and not even knowing. It's one thing if like we knew and then we put it out in a statement or whatever, but it was chaotic, you know?
Yeah. I was going to ask you, where were you when you heard the news? But it must have been really weird to be seeing stuff on Facebook first. That's your first knowledge of it.
Yeah. Well, luckily I had a friend who's a good friend of the family who was an ex-cop, and he was the one that confirmed it. He got inside information. But my parents saw it that way, and a lot of our friends. I actually, coincidentally, and you know, maybe a sign from God, but I was in New York with my wife. Funny enough, I was filming a guitar lesson series in New York because my friend calls me. He goes, "Paulie, get on the first plane over here." He thought I was in LA. I goes, "No, I'm in New York. Why? And then he told me, but I couldn't believe that we happened to be there because I just took the train into Brooklyn. All our friends met us at our house. You know, it was a big, yeah. Everyone came in from, and the whole building was like just filled with people trying to figure out. That's the other thing. We didn't really have confirmation. That's the thing that drove me crazy. It wasn't until I finally spoke to the lieutenant. He called. He goes, "Is this Paul Zabudowski?" And blah blah blah. And then when I had the confirmation, I had to break it to my parents. And it's I mean, it's in my head. I don't like reliving it, but I've also done enough therapy now that I can talk about it and be totally okay.
Gotcha. Claudio, real quick, were you in Argentina at the time? Did you hear about this wreck when it happened?
I was here in LA, and it was just 2 days before my birthday. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I know Jane.
You knew Jane?
Yeah, I didn't know your brother at that time. I mean, I don't know why, but I didn't know him.
Well, he was in New York. You know, he didn't come out. He played the Jam a few times. You know, and then when we started Rubik's Cube LA, he was the one that helped me start it. You know, so but he didn't have a big presence on the West.
It was very sad and shocking. You know, it's just like that, gone.
Yeah, that's the shock. It's just instantaneously. You know, it's just amazing how that can happen. You know, yeah.
But luckily for me, they had just played the Viper Room. They were just in LA a week before. I got to see him. We got to have dinner at the Rainbow. He stayed in my house. He wrote a nice little letter. "Hey, thanks for everything. You know, love you, bro, blah, blah, blah." I still have it. So, you know, we didn't fight. There's no like, "Oh my God, I wish I had said this." I mean, we told each other how much we loved each other.
Yeah, that's good. So tell us about forming the DavidZ Foundation.
So I had a nonprofit prior to that called Rockasound Foundation in New York, because after Z-Rock, I wanted to do something with this newfound, you know, clout that I had, a little bit of celebrity and all these celebrity friends, and you know, so I was like, I got to do something with this. So I actually started a podcast at the time, the PaulieZ Show, and then I started this nonprofit, and then I stopped when I came out to LA, and I kind of had gone through my rough personal period in 2010. So I said, when I'm older, I'll do it. You know, later on, I could do that. I don't have time for philanthropy right now. I got to be a rock star. And, you know, when he was taken from us, something inside just said, okay, you know, this is why you kept the 501c3 status, because of this, you know. So get back into it, change the name, change everything, and now you have a new purpose. So that's what I did. Yeah, I had to go through the IRS. I had to change the name, come up with a logo. So now it's officially DavidZ Foundation, but it is a nonprofit, a 501c3. We're international now. We've won 8 awards for our music videos. We go all over the place. I mean, it's amazing how much we've done in a very short period of time with such a small staff. But I think a lot of that has to do with the work we're doing is really good. And I think a lot of people connect to that story. You know, he had a lot of, you know, he was a rock star. So a lot of people, there are a lot of fans and other musicians that support. And now it's growing to the point where the people we're working with never even heard of DavidZ. You know, they never heard of Z-Rock, never heard of ZO2. A lot of these kids never even heard of KISS. You know what I mean? I just did a school in the middle of the mountains in Colombia. I did three schools in Colombia. One was an indigenous community in the mountains. I mean, if I said Led Zeppelin, they'd be like, who? So it's got to the point where it's grown. That's what makes me so proud. It started from him, and now it'll always be centered around him, but it's grown to the point where now the work is really the main focus, the impact on the children.
Right. So what is the mission?
So we bring music programming to kids around the world, specializing in underprivileged kids. And what we do is we do original music programs where we write songs with them about either academic subjects or socially conscious subjects. Could be something like saving the world, or it could be anti-bullying, or it could be mathematics, whatever it is. But we write an original song, we record it, and we make a music video, and we post that on YouTube. So it's unlike anything else that's out there, because we're not teaching them how to play Stairway to Heaven. You don't even have to be musical. Most of these kids aren't even musical. You know what I mean? But they're part of it. They're writing lyrics, they're coming up with melodies, they're storyboarding, they're in the video. Really, really good for kids that are on the spectrum or have English as their second language, kids with behavioral problems. It's pretty powerful. And,
Right. Are the programs, it's just for young students then?
well, we go up to high school. I mean, I've done it as young as preschool, and then we've had up to like through high school. But the sweet spot is that fourth, fifth grade, that younger middle school, like third grade to like middle school. Is like our sweet spot. But yeah, I mean, we did an all special needs school in Israel that we won an award for. And they were like high school kids, like 17, 18, 19.
Terrific. So how can people donate to your DavidZ Foundation?
So just go to davidzfoundation.org. If you go there, you can see everything. And if you check out our YouTube page, that's really the best place to go, because when you see the videos and the behind the scenes videos, like the making of these videos too, you see the real impact. It's one thing to see a final product, like, oh, that's a cool video. Like we had Corey Glover 2 years ago join us in a school in Brooklyn, and he was in the video singing the song that the kids wrote. He learned it, he sang it, he's in the video. The kids were playing cutout guitars on cardboard and stuff. We won 2 awards for that. But that's cool. But when you see the behind the scenes and you see the kid who supposedly is always in trouble with the principal, and he's the one that came up with the guitar lick, or she's the one that came up with the chorus, the one who's always in trouble, who's failing, and now they came up with that part, that's the magic. That's where you see that real impact,
You did that in Argentina too?
I did one, yes, I did. We did one called No Más Pobreza.
No Más Pobreza.
Yeah.
Have you been
in
able
a place
to get...
called Lanús too. Is I remember my wife's from Argentina, and they said, "Where you go?" They said, "You go to Lanús," because it was it's like going to Compton or going to like
a lot of poor people.
Yeah, it was They were like, "Why are you going there?" I said, "Because those are the ones that need it."
Yeah,
that's where we go.
Have you been able to get any companies behind it as well? I mean, it sounds like it'd be perfect for like music instrument manufacturers.
Yeah, I mean. Yes, we have had some support, and I've had some corporate sponsors and things like that. But there's a very small team. It's really just kind of myself and another gentleman he's a total rock star, Dan Roeder. So we're just small, and there's so many things to do, and we just focus more on the work, if that makes sense. So it's like the same as being an artist and not focusing on social media. At a certain point, we've gotten grants, like Chicago's public school system gave us a grant to do 7 semesters of programs with 4 schools. I mean, that's a big one. We're almost done with that. But we haven't quite gotten into, you need more manpower to really get into that,
Yeah.
And we will. I like to let the work speak for itself. That's my thing. I feel like, the old Kevin Costner thing, if you build it, they will come. So you go and watch those videos, you'll see what I'm saying, and you'll be like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah, very true. I did. I went to the website, checked it out.
Okay.
So I encourage everybody listening, definitely go check it out. It's very clear what their mission is when you go to the website and see the videos.
Yeah, sometimes it's harder to explain. They're like, wait, so I don't understand. So you're teaching them music? I'm like, no. Just go watch the promo video, all right? Yeah. I made a promo video for a reason. Go watch it.
Yeah. Did you have something, Claudio?
Yeah, I wanted to ask him a question about his time with Steve Priest and Sweet.
Sure. Yeah, I just texted my student that was running a few minutes late too, because I knew this would happen. But yeah, that was great. I didn't expect that either. That came from Ultimate Jam Night when they needed a new singer. The guitar player Mitch Perry was also the guitar player in Ultimate Jam Night, the house guy, and we had chemistry already. And he calls me one day and he goes, "Would you consider singing for Sweet?" And again, Sweet was like, I knew less songs than I did Queen. Queen, I was a fan, like I said earlier today, but I wasn't an uber fan. I didn't know the B-sides, right? I knew the hits. Sweet, I might have known 2 or 3 songs, and that's it. So I'm just thinking, oh, it's like a poppy, sugar-coated, Archie's kind of band. I was like, old school. I don't want to go old school. I want to go. I just felt like it might be a step backwards for me, And he goes, dude, just listen to the set list first. Go on Spotify, listen to the songs, and then tell me. So I say, all right, whatever. I was blown away. Oh my God, was I blown away. I said, how did I not know about this band as a kid? Like, amazing. As a Kiss, especially as a Kiss fan, like, I just couldn't believe how great they were. And then I called him, I was like, okay, I'll do it. Because I told you. And it was great because Steve Priest was the original bass player. So he was in the band. So there was it was so cool to be in a band with someone like that, a legend. And also a band that was very well, I didn't realize how well respected they were by other bands. Like all my musician friends who were further along than I am were coming to me and be like, dude, I can't believe you're singing in Sweet. Like that was one of my favorite bands as a kid. There was a lot of respect that came with that gig that I was very, very, did not pass me by. I was very appreciative and grateful for that. And, I put my heart and soul into that, right? Claudio,
Yeah, I have fun.
It was a great time, and I came in with, I went out and bought a bunch of glitter pants, and I really pushed it to the, I took them, like, I feel like Steve and I had a really good rapport too, because he could have been my grandfather. He was like, well, maybe not that old, but he was like my dad's age. So he was in his 70s and I'm, I was at the time, mid 40s, a little early 40s. So the dynamic was weird because I'm running around and I got all this energy and he's sitting down. He had like back problems and stuff. I'm like, how am I going to make this work? This is kind of a weird dynamic for rock and roll. And it just naturally turned into like an Abbott and Costello routine because we would just riff. He was very funny and clever. And so we would wind up riffing off each other, right? And half the show, Glad, it was just
great.
Like, yeah, it was just almost more like stand-up comedy. People loved it. Because like you can go see, if you want to check out more, go to our website, sweet.com and sweetband.com. And I would tell him on the mic, I say, Steve, we have there's this thing called the internet, right? Have you heard of it? He goes, yeah, I've heard of the internet, you moron. Because I'm not that old, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like we would just riff on each other. And he was so, I think it really gave him a new sense of happiness. Because when I met him, he seemed a little bit more jaded and a little bit like kind of sour, right? He was kind of sour. And then there was this new band and we were on fire and he had...
You bring a different energy to the band. Yeah.
I'd like to think I brought a little bit of joy to him in the last few years of his life.
It was fun.
If I could say anything, that's what I would say.
That sounds great, Well, Paulie, that does bring us to the end of our show. I wanted to wish you, continued good luck with your bands and your businesses and, of course, the DavidZ Foundation.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it. I'm glad we got to squeeze it in. I thank you guys for accommodating with the time and everything, and it was fun.
Yeah, before we go, once again, if you can tell us the websites to go to check things out.
Well, DavidZFoundation.org is the main one for the foundation. If the Zen site is not up yet, so if you want to see anything for Bohemian Queen, it's just BohemianQueenBand.com. But I would say, just because I have so many things going on, it would just be easier to just search me on social media, because my social media is very, very active now that I have someone helping me. So you'll see a whole bunch of cool stuff on there. And just search PaulieZ or PaulieZ official, depending on which site you're on, whether it's Facebook or TikTok. I got a lot of, if you go to my YouTube page, I got a lot of covers that I've been doing, and those have been cool too. A couple of viral ones. Finally got some viral videos,
Cool.
Very cool, man. Very cool. All right. Well, Paulie, thanks for being our guest today on the Rock Music Alliance.
Thank you.
I'm Cole Coleman, and for Claudio Pesavento, the Rock Music Alliance, and the RMA Awards, thanks for watching and listening. Visit us at rockmusicalliance.com and check out this year's RMA Awards for rock, metal, and progressive rock music.